Ohio State's Ryan Day is the Dave McClain Coach of the Year. It's chosen by the Big Ten media. This may not seem shocking, but it is. It's the first time any OSU coach has been chosen since Earl Bruce in 1979. To put that in perspective, that is the year Day was born. All he's done in taking over for one of the best coaches of all time is make a great team even better, leading Ohio State to a 12-0 record and a spot in the Big Ten championship game. And Ryan Day joining us now from our studio in Columbus. Coach, to do this in your first year as a head coach, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot, first off. But more importantly, it means that, our players have done an unbelievable job this year, and they deserve all the credit. This coaching staff has done a tremendous job in all three phases. And, anytime people get awards, it's because of what the whole organization has done, and honored and humbled, and certainly excited about it. But at the same time, really deflecting the praise because without the staff and without the players, wouldn't have had this season.
Okay, and I hear what you're saying, but if there was one thing that I knew every year when I drove in for this day, I knew that I would not be talking to the Ohio State head coach. As you are well aware, this is the first time since 1979 with Earl Bruce that a Buckeyes coach has won Big Ten Coach of the Year. And you talk about, well, it's about the organization, it's about the accomplishments. Well, since then, Ohio State's won 15 Big Ten championships, at least a share of 15. You've had two Hall of Fame coaches in John Cooper and Jim Tressel. You have a third in Urban Meyer, who will certainly be in the Hall of Fame as well. So what do you think it is about this particular season and the job that you did which resonated with the media in a way that no Ohio State season has in the last 40 years?
Well, again, I think it's what we have done. And I think it just, going into the season, there was a lot of unknowns. When you look at retooling our defense, when you look at a whole really new offensive line, when you look at a quarterback who had never taken a collegiate start before under center, there was a lot of unknowns there, and, a new coaching staff. And so, but again, I think it's what everybody's done here. It starts with Gene Smith and what he's built and what Urban Meyer built, and we're just keeping it going. But I appreciate obviously being recognized. It means the world to me, to my family as well. But at the end of the day, it's a we.
You mentioned your family. It's kind of an unlikely story. I mean, a young man from the state of New Hampshire, you end up at Ohio State as the Buckeyes head coach, and of course having a great run to start it. I know it was your grandfather, Paul, who instilled in you a love of football after your father passed away when you were very young. I know Paul just passed away as well, your grandfather, earlier this year. What would you say to him on a day like today?
I don't know if I have to say much. I know that no matter what happens, he's proud of everything that's happened here. And I know that, during my time in coaching, I know that it was sometimes, kind of a dream come true for him, which makes me happy. And I know he's watching down over all of us. And, to see the success we've had, I know that he's smiling somewhere up there.
What was your biggest challenge this year, Coach, when you took over for Urban?
It wasn't just one thing. It was everything. I think it's just, like you said, a whole new defensive staff, a new quarterback, a new offensive line, and, building that culture and building that identity as we went throughout the season and taking it 1 week at a time. And I think if you had to say one thing that I would probably point out would be the expectations. The expectations couldn't be any higher at a place like this. The margin for error is, non-existent. And so I think if you focus on something like that, you can get overwhelmed at a place like Ohio State. And so the only way that I know how to do it was just to focus on the task at hand, take it 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, and not worry about those kind of things. And just rely on the staff, rely on the players, keep working the leaders of the program, and proud of the way these guys have played. And I just think our players deserve so much credit.
This week is an interesting one for that take it one step at a time mantra, because here you are. There's a lot of talk that you guys have already done enough to get into the college football playoff. In this day and age, certainly the players hear that and are well aware of kind of what the talk is around this team. So how do you get them to focus in on Wisconsin, a team they've already beaten handily this year?
Well, I think, first off, I don't think it was handily. I think that, we're in a dogfight in the third quarter, and they did a great job with us on offense. They blocked the punt. I mean, it was not easy, and I don't think the score reflected how close the game was. So we don't think it was that way. But the message all week has been that, this is the end of a race, and the first race was to the end of the season. And, if by chance there's something after that, then that'll be a new race. But we have to keep our eyes on the finish line and accelerate through the finish line, not let up, not keep the same momentum, but really accelerate through this thing. And we've known this has been coming for a long time. We've talked about it with the team. We've explained to them what this end of the season scenario is going to be like, playing most likely 3 top 10 teams in a row, playing the rivalry game in between, and then coming back and having to go win, in Indianapolis. So, the guys are aware of it. I think they have good perspective on it, and we need to have a good week of practice.
This game was a bad weather game, as you are well aware, when you guys played in Columbus in October. Obviously, playing indoors, it's not going to be a factor at all this time. How does that change your approach?
It doesn't change much. I mean, I think anytime you have situations and you have weather or whatever the conditions are, both teams have to play with it. And we had to play with it the first time, and we're going to have to play with it this time. And I don't think it really favors one side more than the other. We both have to handle it, and going to a neutral site and handling the week. There's a lot that goes into it. This late in the season, how do you stay consistent, stay disciplined, not cut corners, continue with your routine, keeping yourself fresh and prepare at the highest level, because the most prepared team will win the game.
Given that there are 3 teams that have pretty clearly separated themselves this year, and you guys and LSU and Clemson, and then that 4th spot seems to be very much up in the air, how important do you think it is to go into the college football playoff as the number 1 seed, to not have to face LSU or Clemson in that first round?
Well, we're not trying to focus on that much. We're trying to just win the game. You start worrying about all those other things, you start to get distracted. I mean, the goal is to win the game in the 4th quarter, and if that means by 1 point, that means by 1 point, whatever that is. But we also know that there's a lot at stake here, and a lot at stake for a lot of reasons. But none more than just reaching the goal of winning the Big Ten championship, and then if we do that, we know everything will take care of itself.
How do you balance the health of your team versus wanting to make a strong statement in that last day to the committee?
Well, I think this time of year you have to be smart about how you practice. And, this late in the season, we have a mature team. Guys got to do a great job mentally. This is not one of those weeks where you go in and you line up for 15 minutes inside drill and pound the heck out of each other. You got to be smart about that. You want to be fresh going into this game. But it's going to take everything we have. It's going to take 60 minutes. This is a really well-coached team, a really good coaching staff. They're really good players on both sides of the ball. They're tough. They don't give you anything. They're disciplined. So it's going to be one of those drag-out fights. It's going to go into the 4th quarter.
Finally, Coach, you're not the only Buckeye winning a big award today. Chase Young named the Defensive Player of the Year. What has stood out to you about watching and coaching Chase this year?
Go on for hours about Chase. It's been quite a year, when you think about what he's been through. It started off with just an unbelievable rise, and, he had a really great game against Wisconsin on a national stage, and I thought that was really his Heisman moment of the year. And then he went through that adversity and handled that like a man. And just the leadership and the way that he's approached this season, the way he is in a locker room, pushing guys. This is a special young man. His character's shown throughout the season. But on the field, he's been completely dominant, and what a year he's had.
Well, Coach, congratulations to you. Congratulations to Chase as well. And thanks so much. We'll look forward to seeing you in Indy this weekend.
All right, thanks, Dave.